Today I have a challenge for myself. Did not plan for this to come out this way, but it is Friday afternoon. I have less than 3 hours until my kids get home from school. And in that time, I am going to try and knit a baby sweater for a baby shower I'm going to on Sunday morning. I did not plan to cut it this close, but earlier last week and this week, I was busy sewing a last minute costume for my daughter's school play. Oh, apparently I have not been planning things out very well. So yesterday I got a couple of swatches made so I could decide on which tension I wanted it to be. I'm using some cotton, 8-2 cotton yarn. I bought this yarn as weaving yarn to make towels with, but it works just fine on my knitting machine. This was, let's see, this swatch I did at tension 5. I think it's a little bit loose. So, and this one I did at tension 4. And after I washed it, it came out very nice. Well, I would love to gift wool baby clothes. I think most people would not appreciate the care that goes to go with that. So, cotton will be nice and easy. So, the goal is to make an easy care sweater for my friend with her new baby. And I'm going to, this will be the first time using my punch card machine to actually make a sweater. And so I'm excited, and hopefully, wish me luck that my gauge, swatch, measurements will not lead me astray. My goal is to get all the pieces done on my machine, which I think should be reasonable because baby sweaters are small. So I'm going to make all the pieces, and then I'm going to try to decide if I should pre-wash them before I sew them together or after. Definitely need to pre-wash the sweater before I gift it because it's super loose before the cotton shrinks a lot. So this will be the first time where I'm actually making a garment out of the cotton. I've made a few test swatches out of the cotton. I definitely feel like it's doable, that this cotton behaves all right on my machine. But I do have to make sure I am mindful of moving up the weights very often, because when I was making this swatch, I did neglect moving my weights up often enough, and there was a couple of drop stitches. So as long as I am mindful of that, I think it will work out fine. I think that's enough introduction. Gertie, let's get to it. So, looking at my pattern, I need 84 stitches. So I'm gonna pull out, be 82 on each side. The pattern I'm using is a pattern I found on Ravelry. It's a free machine knitting pattern called Child/Neck Sweater. And I will put a link in the description if anyone is curious. And I'm going to make the smallest size that's on there, which is, says for a 22-inch waist. So more of a toddler sweater than a baby sweater. My gauge is smaller than the gauge that is listed on the pattern, so it will come out a little bit smaller. I'm not going to do this as a tutorial because it's not my pattern, but I will kind of talk you through the different steps I did, and if you're interested in machine knitting, there are some really excellent channels that have tutorials and things. I'm going to start off putting my waist yarn on, and I will knit a bunch of rows, and then we'll add our regular yarn on after that. Okay, that is probably good for the waist yarn. So now I'm ready to start with my real yarn. Ow, no. Okay, well, yarns are flying. All right, now I'm ready to start with my real yarn. I do have a ribber for this machine. However, I have not tried it out yet. I still need to order a couple of missing parts to get that working. and be brave enough to try and figure it out. So for this sweater, I'm going to be doing a hung hem, which just means basically a folded hem. So instead of doing ribbing, I could also do what's called mock ribbing, where you omit every other stitch. I decided I don't want to do mock ribbing because I don't think that would work really all that well, especially with the cotton yarn. I think it would be more likely to be catchy in baby fingers. Well, small child fingers, whatever. We'll do a folded hem on the bottom of the sweater and on the sleeves. I know I haven't quite decided what to do about the neckline because the neckline is supposed to have ribbing, but I guess we'll just leave it in stockinette and just let it roll over, and it'll just be kind of like a roll collar. That's probably what we'll do. Oops. Okay, and I forgot to reset my row counter so that I can keep track of what I'm actually doing. That was one row. I don't know. Let's see. How deep of a hem should we do? 1 inch? 2 inch? I feel like 2 inches would be a lot visually for a small sweater. We'll do 1 inch. So my row gauge was about 9 rows per inch. Just for easy math, I'm going to do 10 inches, 10 rows. So which means we want to do 20 rows. I'm really not great at explaining this. Don't. Okay. I'm talking out loud so I can know in my head what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to knit 10 rows. Then I'll knit 1 row on a larger size tension. And then I'll knit another 10 rows. And then we'll hang the hem so that it makes a folded edge. Oops. And I better remember to move my weights so we don't have drop stitches. Oh, and the tension is on the right. Although maybe I should. I'm trying to remember. Oh, I probably should do a lower tension for the hem. Yeah, that probably makes sense. Okay, there was our 10 rows. So I'm going to turn this up. I don't know, maybe to 7? Sure. Okay, then I'm going to turn this back to 3. And we'll do 10 more rows. I feel like with this cotton, I really want to move the weights up at least every 10 rows. But I'm also might do it more often than that. Since I'm on a time crunch, I really don't want to have to redo anything because of some dropped stitches. So there's our 20 rows. I suppose I should check and see how well this is recording because I need a different angle. Alright, so now I'm going to hang my hem, which means that I am going to take my handy dandy transfer tool and I'm going to take the bars here that you probably can't see anyway, but this is also why it's good to have contrast between your waste yarn and your actual yarn so you can see the little purl bump there, and then I just hang those on my needle onto the needles in the bed. And now I'm trying to remember if it's every other needle or every single needle. I don't remember. I guess the good news is, since it's Friday, if this all turns out to be a disaster, I can go buy a gift tomorrow. Oh, this is the problem with being a crafty person who also sometimes struggles with time management. It's not that I was procrastinating making this gift, it's just I was distracted by other things that I wanted and or committed to my daughter to make. And of course, as a crafty person, I'm like, why should I buy something when I can make something? and because I do objectively enjoy making things, and I don't know. Of course, for me, as the crafty person giving the gift, it feels more loving to spend time and myself, like creative energy, to make something for someone than to just go buy something random. But I don't know. Of course, that's not always how gifts are received, but I figure that as long as hard to go wrong with a cute baby sweater, right? I know a lot of people make baby blankets, but I don't know. I remember we got lots of baby blankets, and I probably didn't end up using all of them. Alright, so here we are at row 60, and then it says to put a marker at each end of row 60, because that is going to be, I think, where the sleeve needs to match up to. I'm not exactly sure how one places a marker for machine knitting, so I just grabbed some yarn scraps, and I'm just going to tuck those in there and hope that that works. If not, then I guess we'll just kind of go with, I don't know, well, we can always fudge the sleeve placement, I guess. Okay. So we've got our makeshift, hopefully that will work out, yarn marker, row markers in there. And now we are going to continue knitting until row 116. And before I go do that, I think I'm going to go get some earplugs, because this machine, the sound of the machine after a while starts to make my ears feel like they're ringing. All right, so here we are. Just finished row 116. So now we just need to do the neckline. And let's see, I'm going to clip the lighter blue yarn. And we're going to turn off the patterning. And let's see, how many rows does it say? 12 more rows. Okay, that's 12 rows. And now we just need to cast off. See, normally with hand knitting, I like to do a sewn bind off. I think that it's going to be too fiddly with these smaller stitches. We'll just do a normal bind off. finished binding off, so now I'm going to take this off. So now we have one front or back piece. I think in this, the front and the backs are the same. So we've got one piece done. So now I will go ahead and knit the other off camera because they're the same. And let's see, that took me about 45 minutes or so to do the one piece. So I think there is hope that I may get these pieces done before my kids get home from school. So I have my 4 pieces of sweater, a front and a back, and two very rolly sleeves. I haven't blocked this yet. I decided I'm going to sew it up together first and then wash it since it's going to shrink. I figured it's going to be harder to sew together if I wash it and shrink it first. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this up. I've took out the waist yarn and woven in the ends that I don't want to use to seam it. So now I'm just going to go ahead and sew it up. It is Saturday afternoon, so we're definitely cutting it close. All right, it is now the morning of the baby shower. I'm gotta leave here in just a few minutes to go, and I stayed up until was it 12:30, 1 o'clock, 12:30 last night, sewing the baby sweater together. Because sewing Sewing all the pieces together probably took longer than the actual knitting of it on my knitting machine. They do, I guess that's the reason why they make linkers that can sew them up together, but I do not have such a thing. And they have their own fiddly issues. And here we are, the little sweater in all its cuteness. Although, okay, so first the good things. The knitting of it went really well. I had no drop stitches, and I think, it's a nice lightweight little cotton shirt. And I think the floats are small enough to not cause too many fingers getting caught, which is also why I did a plain sleeve. Although I think it did turn out a slightly wonky just because, well, I didn't do super careful measurements because as I was editing this video today, I realized that when I was recording last week, my camera cut off or I accidentally stopped it. I don't know. So what I was going to say about the wonky sizing of my little sweater was that, let's see, so width-wise in the chest, it's probably, I forget the exact measurements now, but basically about a 3-month size. The sleeves are definitely too short. They're probably something like a half, like a elbow sleeve, maybe 3/4 inch, which hopefully, depending on how chubby the baby is, the cuff was the size basically of a wrist, but it's not long enough to fit at the wrist. So that may or may not be wearable. And also the length kind of came out what I would guess like a tunic length. So it's a little boy half sleeve tunic length sweater shirt. Clearly this needed more iterations to get right. I mean, it looks really cute. Sadly, I did not plan wisely in order to do those iterations. But my friend was very happy to receive it. So we'll see if it's actually wearable or not. But excuse my grubby outfit. I'm about to go do some gardening. My dye plants need some weeding. And I have some more seeds to sow. Hopefully you've liked this video, and we'll see you next time. I'm gonna stop stumbling over my words and try to blah blah. No, I'm not.
Frame. Oh no, you're making a shake. Here, I'll be a camera crew.
Dump it over.
Put us in the frame. Put us in the frame. Yeah, you're in the frame. I have a face. Yay!